begin, we are going to talk about bedtime struggles. So I've written down some notes here so to make sure that I don't forget what I want to tell you. Firstly, it's extremely normal for your toddler, for your child, to want to drag the bedtime. Okay, and the reason is because, let's talk about toddler. At that age, there is this huge push for independence, and they gain this sense of identity, and they want to have a say and control in the things they do. And bedtime is really the perfect time for power struggles, because they know that they can control you. Exactly. So when they test boundaries, when they do not follow what you say, you get angry, and because by bedtime you are probably really tired, and you also know the importance of sufficient sleep and rest, and that is why it triggers you. And when you get so angry, you react, you actually your kids actually think that they kind of won, Well, I'm not trying to say that your kids are manipulating you, because children at this age, their job is to test boundaries. Their job is to check what they can do and what they cannot do. So my number one tip is for you to be really firm with your boundaries, especially at bedtime. No matter how tired you are, no matter how many books that you want to get them to read, it has to be stated at the start, and you have to follow through, because the moment, any single day where you do not follow through the routines and the rules that you set at bedtime, your kids will know it. They know that, okay, this is a boundary that I can push. This is the time for me to show how I can gain control. Okay, so have very, very firm boundaries. Even though your kids are crying, they refuse to sleep, they want to read one more book, you can let them cry, but let them know you are still firm with your boundaries. Okay, now let me go through why do children have problems sleeping. One of the reasons is because of screen time before bedtime. So definitely no screens before bed, even for adults. When you use your phone before you sleep, it actually affects your quality of sleep. And number two, the reason why kids have trouble sleeping could be because they were too excited or stressed, overstimulated before bedtime. So when after dinner, it's really time for them to wind down rather than running around, throwing, jumping on the bed. Yeah, all this will stimulate the brain even more, and it will cause them to have more difficulty in sleeping. Another reason is they are not tired, and that's why they find it so difficult to sleep. So later we'll touch on that. What happens if your kids wake up late for their nap, and they have difficulty sleeping at night. Okay. Another two reasons is maybe it's a new environment, they find it difficult to sleep, but I don't think this is applicable to most of your questions. And sometimes they find it difficult to sleep because they are unwell. Okay, so these are special cases, but generally you need to have a very, very strong routine, especially at bedtime, which means the same time and the same sequence. So if your child starts his bedtime routine at 7, he has to start at 7 every single day. It kind of helps with the body clock. If they have a certain routine, like they drink milk and then they go and brush their teeth or change their pajamas, that sequence has to follow through. It kind of builds predictability in kids, and kids thrive when they know what to expect. When they don't know what to expect, when things change every night is different, then they don't feel safe, and that will lead to a stage 4 power struggle. So when you think about your own situation now, do your kids go through a fixed routine every single night with the same sequence and at the same time? It is so important for little children. Okay, so I also mentioned that bedtime is really a time for power struggles. So what you want to do, like what I always teach the students in my course, that you have to empower your kids prior to that. So you can ask them, do you want to wear the pink pajamas or the yellow pajamas? Do you want to drink your milk with the orange cup or the green cup? Or do you want to drink your milk on the dining table, or do you want to sit on the floor? So or do you want to brush your teeth standing on one leg, or do you want to brush your teeth sitting down on the stool? So where all these questions that you ask, you are actually empowering your kids and feeling that they are buckled up to have a sense of power. When they have that, then they do not need to struggle with you at bedtimes anymore. So that's one trick that you can try as well. Okay, so let me go through your questions. I think there are 3 questions that I want to talk about. The first question, okay, about bedtime struggles. My 13-month-old now has not been sleep trained, and now I'm trying to sleep train her. She will throw tantrums, cries, screams loudly and do not want to lie down to sleep. It keeps repeating until we hug her to sleep. How can we manage this? Some friends advise that we should let our kids to sleep on their own, but my 13-month-old cannot sleep on her own. She will cry her lungs out. What is your take about sleeping with our kids? Till what age? When and what age should we accompany them to bed? First of all, I want to clarify, I'm not a sleep expert. So I will not be able to give you the best advice on sleep training, but I will share with you what I know with regards to my belief, which is on attachment theory. We always want to focus on the relationship. We want to build a connection with our kids, and we want to change our strategies depending on the responsiveness of your child. So personally for me, my kids have been sleeping with me since young. I'll just share with you. Daryl, he used to he needs me to sleep with him, so I have to give up all my nightlife to meet friends for supper and all. I don't have that since he was a baby, and until now he's 6 years old, he is sleeping on his own. Okay, we didn't do anything special. We just kept him close to us until he feels safe and he knows it. Just one day he's able to lie on his own to sleep. So that is one example. If you feel despair that your child is always sticking to you, my situation is that my son can sleep on his own now. He doesn't need anybody to sleep with him. My daughter Charlotte, she's 3.5 now, and she's going through the same thing. So I did try to kind of like sleep train her a little, in the sense that I don't wait for her to fully sleep before I put her down in the cot when she was a baby. It was okay, but there was a period of time where she starts to want to stick to me, so I respond to her needs. So that is what I believe in. Our child, our children are different, so what works for me may not work for you. But what I truly believe is, I don't believe in cry it out. I don't believe in sleep training, because I believe that children, they respond to us based on their needs and how we can help them. So she is sleeping with me right now. So what I do is I will just lie down beside her, and when she sleeps, I'll just leave the room. Now she still wakes up like once a night. Yeah, she always like pops up when I do my late live videos. So but it is not a concern to me, because I know for sure that I'm giving her security. And although it's a bit inconvenient, but because I can sleep through, it doesn't affect my sleep. So this is what I want to mention. If your child sleeping with you is causing you sleep deprivation, you are having insomnia, then I strongly recommend that you think of a solution. You don't continue to sleep with your child. But if you are able, like me, you are able to sleep with your kids, they can sleep through, then yeah, why not? Okay, I mean, there will be a time where they will leave you and move to their own bedrooms. It will happen. Your kids will not be sleeping with you as an adult. Yeah, they will grow up, and these are the moments. In fact, I think that the caregiver who sleeps with the kids are the ones that they attach to the most. I'm not sure if many of you experience that. If your helpers are the one who sleep with the kids, do you feel that your kids are closer to your helper more? I'm not sure. Okay, so right now I saw a comment that says, don't feel pressured to do sleep training if it's not something you want to do. Exactly. Okay, thank you for raising this, Ping, because a lot of parents feel the stress that they have to sleep train their kids, and it is against their beliefs, but they do it because other people are doing it. So leave the sleep training group if you don't want to do it. There is no right or wrong. It really depends on the responsiveness of your kids. Do not need to feel judged that, oh, my kids are not sleeping through the night. My kids are not sleeping through the night, and I'm proud of it. I mean, it's nothing wrong. It is the development. Every child is different. It doesn't mean that my child have to sleep through the night because the other child the same age is sleeping through the night. I feel that all these are extra pressure that you add on yourself. So on the question on how to sleep training, this 13-month-old is crying, screaming. This is her response that she needs you. She's sick, that she wants that connection with you, and she yearns to be with you. So why do you want to go against that her response? You want to be able to understand what she wants. So it doesn't mean that now that she's crying and you leave her alone, well, she might fall asleep eventually, but what kind of message are you sending it to her? That children who are constantly crying to sleep will have a trauma in them. Right? So don't feel pressure to do sleep training. So even if your friends advise you should sleep on your own, it is your own judgment. You decide whether you feel comfortable and how is your children responding, okay? And what age should we accompany them to bed? I don't think there is a really fixed age, okay? Yeah, so that's the first question that I want to mention. And let's go on to the second question before I answer all your comments, okay? The next question is on my 4-year-old girl starts to cry non-stop before bedtime. She's probably too tired. Is it okay to tell her to stop because it's late? Now, I know that when it's past their bedtime, okay, we get so anxious. We are so worried that they do not get enough sleep. Now, what we can do at that moment, you can't really do much because the time will not turn back. But I want you to look forward. Now, if you know your kids is always crying before bedtime, be proactive. I always teach my students how you can be proactive, what to look out for, what to do in advance. So for this 4-year-old girl, definitely start the bedtime routine earlier, okay, before she gets too tired. And after dinner, make sure she winds down, read a book, listen to slow music, or get her to talk about her day. Yeah, do not get them too excited. And that crying non-stop, it is not your child's fault. So I hope you don't yell at her for crying before bed, because at that time, basically, she's so tired by the end of the day, the prefrontal cortex is not functioning. It is her amygdala telling her to cope with that frustration or that tiredness in her. That's why she starts to cry. It's never gonna be your girl's fault, okay? So is it okay to tell her to stop crying? Personally, I don't recommend you to ask her to stop crying, because she's going to stuff the emotions inside her, and it's going to make her feel worse before bedtime every single night. And it becomes an association, and she might start to dread bedtime. So allow your girl to cry, release it, and then hug her tight. She just needs your comfort. Trust me, okay? Your children just want you beside them. Right, okay, so this is the second question. And the last question is on a 3-year-old girl who doesn't want to take her nap, although she's very tired, and that makes the afternoon and night nap difficult because she's overtired and whines easily. At night, it is so difficult to sleep because she's overtired and jump and kick us in the bed. What should I say to her? So there's this tricky, there's this thinking that, right, kids should not drop their nap. Like, they really should sleep, should take naps as long as they can, which I fully agree, right? If your kids can nap, yes. But I do know of parents who struggle to take 1 hour to put their kids to nap, and the kids only nap for 20 minutes. And when the kids wake up, they feel so cranky, and the parent has to deal with that crankiness for probably another half an hour. So you ask yourself, is it worth it for that 20 minutes of sleep? If it is not worth it, what I recommend you is to shift the bedtime earlier, because we want to look at the number of hours they sleep in a whole day, not like at the nap time. So in a whole day, if they have sufficient number of hours, it is fine. Okay, push the bedtime earlier, even as early as 6 p.m. Yeah, it's okay. Okay, you have to adjust your routine. Maybe your dinner has to come earlier, but children grows up at different phases, right? At different phases, they grow up, and they have different needs. So we have to adapt. You can't be having the same routine you have when your girl is 1 and when your girl is 3. It cannot be the same anymore, because they grow up. So this 3-year-old girl who doesn't want to take her nap, for me, I recommend to definitely encourage her to take a nap. But if she really refuses and is making your life so difficult, then I feel that it's okay. Charlotte has skipped her nap at 3 and just about 3, slightly after 3, yeah. And I told her that sleep is very important. If you do not have enough sleep, you will be cranky, and at night you will throw a tantrum. She told me that, "Mommy, I will not throw a tantrum." So I trust her, and I tell her, okay, you have to show me that if you don't throw a tantrum, then you're allowed to skip your nap. And she tries very hard, I can tell, and she really doesn't want to sleep in the afternoon, probably because her elder brother is there to play with her. And yeah, now she is not throwing a tantrum at night, and I'm okay with her skipping her nap. It's just that the kids can go to sleep a bit faster. By 8:30 they should be in bed most of the time on good days. Yes, okay. So if the girl is finding it difficult to sleep and she's overtired, you have to preempt it. You have to preempt the situation. You know she's going to be cranky, and that's where you have shift everything earlier. Okay, you have to change your routine right now. Okay, Pink, like I mentioned, Pink said don't be pressured to do sleep training if it's not something you want to do. Exactly. Strange in our heart says the truth. Yes, don't feel judged. Broccoli said so good not to feel judged for sleeping with them. No, there's nothing wrong. I mean, if you look at how children were raised naturally in the past, it's like they are breastfed to sleep. You know, they are close to their parents. That close proximity is the one that gives them the security and the safety to make them feel comfortable and assured, and that's when they are ready to become independent. Okay, Alyssa said agreed, we don't do sleep training too. It's best for the kids to feel more secure and comfortable. I miss sleeping with my older kid now. Now that he can sleep on his own. Yeah, we have a mommy who's been through it and telling us it's okay for you to sleep with your kids. But having said that, I'm not judging those who sleep train. Okay, if you believe in sleep training, you feel that when you sleep train your kids, you have more time on your own, you can go out and hang out with your friends. Yeah, that is perfectly fine as well. There is no right or wrong. If your child responds to sleep training, go ahead. All right, we're not going to like judge you for sleep training. Everybody have different beliefs, and I truly think that it depends on how you deliver your belief to your kids and how you execute the way you want them to sleep and how they respond to it. Okay, Smurfy said, yes, my 5.5-year-old boy still sleeps with us. We tried, but he's not ready. Yep, if he's not ready, then let him be ready, just like potty training. If your kids are not ready for potty training, there is no need to force him to go to the toilet. Just because your in-laws or your parents say that, oh, they are 3 years old, they have to be trained in the potty. There is no such rule. Every child is different. We want to respect our child. We know that they all have different temperaments. Some of them are a little bit more sensitive. Some of them, you know, they just take a little bit more time to adapt. Yeah, we just have to, you know, go with the flow and help the kids as and when they need us. Angeline said, I don't sleep train my kids either. I believe in responding to their cries and needs. My 30-month-old only started to sleep better when he's 18-month-old. Even now, he still wakes up once or twice a night. Yeah, it's okay. It can be a bit tiring and inconvenient for us, but isn't that what parenting is about? Like, it's so tough, but because it's so tough, it makes us, you know, feel so we're treasuring these moments with our kids more. Yeah, okay, so Wan Li say, parenting has taught me that you can use everything as a guide or reference, but ultimately you do you, I do me. Like what you mentioned, what worked for others may not work for you. I love the way you say it, Wan Li. So what we are sharing are strategies. Okay, you hear it, you listen to it, and if you believe in it, you believe in the science, yeah, then you go ahead. But if you think that crying out, sleep training works for you, you do what you feel is best. Okay, how many hours should a 2-year-old be sleeping a day? I'm suspecting it is maybe 10 or 11. Yeah, 10 or 11. Yeah, 10 to 11 hours. Wan Xuan said a 2-year-old gets 12 to 13 hours including nap. Yeah, very good. So the more the better. And I mentioned in the earlier part of my life, if you came in late, sleep quality of sleep and number of hours of sleep is actually highly related to the way your kids behave. So if they lack of sleep, actually it makes sense, right? They lack of sleep, their brain is not functioning. Of course, they cannot, you know, rationalize things better. They cannot, you know, behave the way that you want them to, because they're just not able to do. They do not have that enough rest. Jing said, my 2.5 and 4.5-year-old boys sleep in the same room and they love to play in the bed before sleep, be it nap or bedtime. That is, throw their blankets, soft toys, and stand in their beds. Any advice? Now remember, we say that kids operate from their emotional brain. They think it's fun. They really enjoy, you know, hanging out with each other. So for this, you have to set firm rules. I'm not really against children playing a little before sleep, because that is how they form memories with one another, right? When they grow up, they remember, oh, I sleep with my titi in the room and we always throw pillows and we have a lot of fun. But from a parent's point of view, we are functioning from the logical brain, and then we think that, oh, they don't get enough sleep, it will affect their well-being or their behavior the next day, which is true. So what you got to do is to be really firm the boundaries. They want to play, discuss with them. All right, you can play, but only for 3 minutes, and after 3 minutes you guys have to sleep. Now if they don't follow through, then you have to give them the natural consequences, that probably they cannot be in the same room, or you have to take the blankets away. Now all this have to be discussed with your children beforehand instead of like on the spot, so that they can and the best is you can discuss with them so that they can honor their words. Okay. So boundaries is what I mentioned at the start. Be very, very firm. You cannot change your rules on one day when you're extremely tired, or another day you're not tired and you start to be more firm and start yelling at them. It is not fair to your kids when you are not consistent. Jessica said, I find it hard to set a firm boundary but still give my child the connection he is demanding at bed and bath time. If we remain firm, he digs in more and escalates even when we are calm. Children will test and test and test until they know that, okay, they cannot test it anymore. So that boundary has to be set. Okay, so like for my kids, when I switch off the lights, they are allowed to talk for about 5 minutes, but after 5 minutes I will tell them it's time to sleep. Okay, no more talking. So if they want to continue talking, and then I'll let them know that they have to face the consequences, which is probably the next day, then they cannot be sleeping together, or like we have to discuss this beforehand. I haven't set a rule with my kids that if they don't sleep after 5 minutes, because so far they have been like abiding by what I say, and we've been reading a lot of books about sleep, how important it is. There's this book, Captain Sleep, that's given by the Health Promotion Board, so they go through it and they know how important it is, the number of hours of sleep. So I will remind them. So all these experiences all add up to get them to be ready and accept that sleep is very important. It takes time though, it doesn't happen overnight, so you got to be very, very firm. It is very difficult. They're testing your patience, and yeah, you will find that it's almost impossible to get it done, but it can be done if you are consistent and clear with your boundaries. Cheryl asked, regarding the third question, we will need to work and be home earliest 7 p.m. So moving bedtime earlier is not a solution. By the time we settle down for dinner and bedtime, she will be cranky. What else? So Cheryl, it depends on how old your kids are. If they can still take a nap, yeah, go ahead. Now, otherwise, when you get home by 7, okay, let me see, 7, and then to eat dinner. Okay, so see what are the things that can be done earlier. Perhaps the showering can be done earlier, the pajamas can be done earlier, the story time can be done earlier by another caregiver. Alright, so you have to work out a schedule. Although I fully understand that those parents who work and come back late, it is so difficult. You don't even have time to spend with your kids to even read, right? And yet you have to rush them for bedtime. So when they get cranky, you have to know, you have to be really calm and know that they are cranky because they're tired, but not because they're trying to misbehave and make your life difficult. They are not. So when you are able to be calm, when they are cranky, when they're crying, you let them cry. It's okay to cry. Crying is healing. After that, when they feel better, and then you can proceed on with your bedtime routine. But Cheryl, I totally understand like how difficult it is and the struggle that you face when you guys are home late and that your kids cannot spend quality time with you. You have to work something out with the people in the house and see how you can help your girl. Okay, Jing asked, this can last for more than an hour. Help, I have a standard routine and shower them with love before sending them to bed. Okay, so it depends on how long your kids take to sleep. Now for me, right, there are times where they drag certain parts of the routine, like they take so long to brush their teeth, or it takes so long to bring me their books. So we have rules for that. As we go on every single day, I will tell them, okay, so it seems like you're taking very long, so we're going to restrict the number of books that you're reading. So right now, each of them can only read 1 book at night. Yeah, and as for brushing their teeth, I will tell them that you're not allowed to leave the toilet, and sometimes I even set a timer. I'll play the cleanup song for them to clean up their toys before they go and brush their teeth. So there has to be some kind of guidance along the way for your kids. Like they are going to constantly test boundaries, even my kids too. Yeah, it is their job because that's how the brain function. Like they need to want to have this sense of independence. They want to have a say, right? So their brain told them to, okay, let's try this, let's try that. And it's not a bad thing. Your kids are thinking critically. These are the skills that they need in the future. It's just that for us, we have to know the strategies to be able to handle it. Alice said, my 20-month-old sleeps at 10 p.m. I'm not sure if it's the circuit breaker period. Now she doesn't want to sleep until close to 12 a.m. no matter how hard I try. At least you have to really shift everything earlier. 12 a.m. in my personal opinion is too late for a 20-month-old. Yes. Okay, so yeah, shift everything earlier. Demon said, my almost 4-year-old doesn't want to nap in the day and almost at night. Because she felt that sleeping is a waste of time. She would rather play and we can't possibly wind her down at all. Alright, what do you suggest? So Dimon, this happens to my son as too. He doesn't like to nap and he wants to play. So I always tell him there is a time for playing and there is a time for sleeping. Right, so do not think that when they sleep they don't get to play. And I say this all the time. I repeat and repeat until sometimes I put out a schedule so they will know when to play and when to sleep. And it kind of works because they know that their playtime is not taken over by their sleep time. Okay. Alright, wow, I still have quite a lot of questions to go through. Okay, let me see, I have 3 more minutes to go because I need to go. Okay, I'm just going to answer one more questions and the rest of the questions I will take it offline, okay? So Xiang Ni says my girl is 22 months old, is very active and always playing. She used to sleep 2 naps at my mom's house because of this COVID. We have to take care of her own. I changed her routine to 1 nap and she sleeps earlier. Yeah, that's it.